a big tragedy occurred in science fiction today in the release of Last Dangerous Visions, which is a sequel to Harlan Ellison's Dangerous Visions from the late 1960s. It's the third in a trilogy of short story collections. And this one, Harlan was supposed to get done in 1974. He kind of shelved it and then, tried to think about it a few times over the years, had some stories come in over the years. But he died in 2018, and J. Michael Straczynski took over the project and just put his own stamp on it. It's now his. This doesn't seem to be Harlan's whatsoever. And it's, as shilly as you'd expect. It's not a dangerous vision from the idea of the establishment whatsoever. It's just the same old, tired leftist political nonsense thrown into something and using the brand as a skin suit. A weird brand to use. I mean, Harlan Ellison's known for his artistry, known for his wonderful stuff. I actually, weirdly, when Straczynski started coming out with Harlan's work early last year and actually made a Harlan Ellison's Greatest Hits short story anthology of just Harlan's work, I promoted it on my Fandom Pulse here and promoted it, across things because I think Harlan's work has been out of print, a lot of it, and I think it was good to come get that back into the zeitgeist. If you've not read Harlan Ellison, he's definitely a science fiction legend who, just his level of writing is well beyond a lot of people's. And I promoted it, and he blocked me over promoting it. It was very weird. And it goes to show that these people are all about identity. They're all about hatred and bigotry. They're so consumed in their politics and their vitriol. Straczynski's one of those who just really lost his touch on writing and everything ever since he just went full derangement on politics. And now he's taken Harlan Ellison's legacy and really done a disservice to it, in my opinion. We're going to get into this in just a moment. It is already a #1 bestseller for anthologies. Not doing that amazing. We'll get into the sales numbers just for kind of how things are going. But nobody really buys short story collections anymore. But he kind of got the usual suspects involved, and it's just a bummer. It really is. All right. My name's John Delarose, everybody. Please hit the like and subscribe button here. We talk about all the things in science fiction and fantasy. A lot of stuff nobody else will cover. This is something that you're not going to hear a lot about, but I think it's important to the culture, and so that's why I do cover it. And we are trying to make a world of difference in science fiction and make science fiction fun again, bring it back to what it used to be. And this is going to be, I'm talking like the golden and silver age of science fiction, because we really lost our way, and a lot of it really stemmed out of what came from the original Harlan Ellison Dangerous Visions. I don't blame this book for it, because this book was solid. But a lot of people got emboldened by this, and this is kind of where the leftist political boomer, drugs and sex and rock and roll kind of spiraled into the industry and then kind of screwed things up. So, you get not just this, but you get people where they're inspired by this and they just don't have the talent in the next generation. And so they create a version that's worse. And then you do that for 2-3 generations, and then you have what we have now, which is just an ugly, disgusting science fiction publishing industry, which just is awful. Everything the mainstream's been coming out with in the last 20 years has been terrible. And it's honestly the fault of people like Harlan Ellison for pushing the culture in that direction. If I hate to say it, it's true though. Now, I love this book, like I said, and Harlan Ellison is a talent. You can separate the two. We have a very intelligent audience here, and we're not just we're not binary thinkers, right? So hopefully you get kind of the message here, and we get into this. Now, I am creating science fiction as well, my friends, and I would love for you to check out my Dangerous Visions. I'm blacklisted from New York Publishing just because I make these YouTube videos, because I talk about what the establishment's doing, the bad things they've done over the years. And I'd love for you to start checking out my work. This is a space opera. I'm Straczynski too. He did brilliant stuff. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you loved Babylon 5 like I do, and a big inspiration on me, and I tell, the funny part is I've told J. Michael Straczynski he's an inspiration for me getting into writing, and he is. And I actually learned a lot from him back in the day before he kind of went off the rails with politics. I know it upsets him that I have a career and I'm doing well with it, which is really sad, because Back in the day, it used to be about supporting creatives, and unfortunately, that's not what they're about anymore. But this is the beginning of my trilogy, The Aritian War. You'll love this if you love space opera like that. It's in the description below. It's available on ebook, print, and audio. It's a spy thriller in space, and it's really, really wonderful. I'm building a space exploration series about this because what I miss from science fiction is heroism, a sense of wonder out of things, a sense of like the unknown, feeling vast and epic and wonderful, and humanity really striving for good things. I think everything's gone, really dark in science fiction over the last couple of decades, different videos. So I'm trying to be a counterbalance towards that, and I hope you'll enjoy my work here and check it out. Thank you so much. Grab the whole trilogy. It really pays off by the end of that, and you're going to love it. Thank you so much again. It's in the description below, and I think I said hit the like and subscribe button, but if I didn't, join us. Please do. All right. So I wrote this on Fandom Pulse this morning, just going over kind of the history of Dangerous Visions. Like I said, the original one, I get it. I mean, this is, Straczynski is putting this out too, but it is the original version. It does have a forward from Patton Oswalt, which makes me roll my eyes because, like, why is he involved in this? But if you get into these stories, there's a lot of great writers in here. A lot of great writers. You can look at it. You've got Robert Silverberg, amazing. Frederick Paul, amazing. Brian W. Aldiss, Philip K. Dick, Larry Niven, still one of the greatest authors ever. Fritz Lieber, who doesn't get a lot of attention. Paul Anderson, who's my favorite. He doesn't get a ton of attention. Theodore Sturgeon, J.G. Ballard, Samuel L. R. Delaney, who, he wrote a good story in this, even though he's a weird, Nambla pedo dude. He really is creepy. And Ellison himself. And book 2 actually has Gene Wolfe in it. And that's what's interesting is even though you've got some weirdos like Samuel L. Delaney in here, even though you've got people like that, Ellison really just had people have their own artistic visions, which were very different. Paul Anderson was a stalwart Republican, actually, in science fiction. He wouldn't be allowed to be published today. And the reason his work is not celebrated like Heinlein or Asimov or any of that is because he, really didn't push things in a different direction, and so they kind of ignore him, and his work's actually frankly better. Gene Wolfe is in the second volume a devout Catholic into his death, which is amazing writer, and this is the type of stuff that you will not find in the current iteration of Dangerous Visions. In fact, Straczynski should have titled it Safe Corporate Visions because it's got the usual suspects of who get promoted through science fiction these days, and not anybody else really. You got Max Brooks in here. Max Brooks is a Straczynski friend, and Straczynski brought in 7 of the stories in here. So while the other ones have introductions from Harlan Ellison, I think there's one introduction written by Harlan Ellison in this volume here. Obviously that's not the case here because he's no longer around. And Max Brooks is a Straczynski friend. Straczynski worked on his movie. They're Hollywood buddies. He's the son of Mel Brooks. I love Mel Brooks movies, but leftist Jewish liberal, of course. I posted to Twitter just kind of showing this today. This is what you get here. Your Dangerous Vision. Like my dad and our dog, I'm all in for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So yes, and I bet their dog's going to vote in the election too, because that's just how these things go these days. That's how Democrats rile up votes. You've got him obviously in there. You've got some classics. A.E. Van Vogt's an old one, a classic in there. And but then you get into and you start to see people who get promoted and run the convention circuits these days. Cory Doctorow is one of those who really isn't on the level of any of this stuff, but again, he just gets promoted very regularly by this groups these days, and you could tell he was probably one of J. Michael Straczynski's picks here. Now, interesting here, Dan Simmons was a Harlan Ellison pick, and this is a story actually from back in the 80s when Dan Simmons was at his peak, so that's how I know it's not a Straczynski pick. And that's the one story in here I'm like, I actually want to read that. But you get into it. Adrian Tchaikovsky is another one who's a perennial award winner in these days. James S.A. Corey is another leftist shill. This is the duo author who writes The Expanse, very much plugged in with Hollywood and all that. And again, an obvious Straczynski pick in here, and not people who should be writing this heady kind of science fiction really. And so this does not resemble anywhere near what you would have thought of the old science fiction and the greats of science fiction that were in the original volumes. Now, there's a couple new people. Here's one. Straczynski puts a new person in here, and there's one called Binary System, and this is by K.O. Hartenbaum, and again, a Straczynski pick. About isolation, the loss of definition and absence of societal constructs, and the conditional immortality of being useful to capitalism. So it's, it's going to be gender ideology, commie shit. And this is exactly what they push. This is the entire mainstream establishment. All they publish is this stuff over and over and over again. It's not dangerous at all. It's the opposite. And I wrote in my article, it's very funny. It's much like seeing Rage Against the Machine on tour, sponsored by Capital One, right? That's what we have here for, quote, dangerous visions these days. And you can see that Straczynski's leaning hard into it. In his intro into this, he says the topics covered in the volume are misogyny, racism, and the role of religion in society. So it's going to be anti-Christian, of course. Straczynski's violently anti-Christian, rabidly so. That's how I first got on his bad side, was he was ranting against Christianity and actually the concept of creationism versus evolution. And, I just said there's no evidence for evolution, and he just lost his mind. And so he said today's political climate is marked by open expressions of sexism, prejudice, and gender intolerance. So this isn't a dangerous vision at all. Straczynski is just a completely paused leftist. He's way off the rails in everything he does, and he's been that way for a long, long time. And, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just fallout after he was writing that One More Day Spider-Man thing where he had Peter Parker make a deal with the devil to leave his wife. And that was kind of like the last hurrah for Straczynski. Now, there was a real spiritual successor to this called Forbidden Thoughts, came back in the day. If you can find a copy, it's out of print. This publisher's gone. And of course, no mainstream publisher would publish this. It's got Nick Cole in it. It's got Larry Correia in it. It's got John C. Wright in it. It's got Vox Day in it. It's got Milo Yiannopoulos writing the foreword. This is dangerous visions. This is what the establishment doesn't want you to read or want you to think. They're scared of people like this, and this is exactly why you'll never see any authors like that in a Straczynski's version of Last Dangerous Visions. It's really just sad to me. Like I said, Harlan Ellison, one of the greats, despite all the kind of fallout from the 60s and like what all that did to science fiction, what that did to culture, obviously has destroyed our American culture at this point to a level that we need to bring things back. That's why we're forming a better movement over here independently, blacklisted from comics, blacklisted from publishing, because our visions are dangerous to the establishment. We scare them because we have the truth on our side. We have Christ on our side, and that's what's missing from any of these visions. Because really the most dangerous vision of all was Jesus Christ coming, dying on the cross, rising again, and forgiving us for our sins, my friends. And that's what scares the people who run this world more than anything else. All right. Whew. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Please check out my trilogy, The Stars Entwined, and its subsequent 2 sequels. Really appreciate you guys for being there. It's in the description below. We'll be back soon.